So you all can ask questions of our student interns if you have questions about the projects or just about some of the things that they've been doing in their own programs, or if you have questions for our community partners, you can ask them and do that. But I guess, do we have someone already identified, or? All right, I can kind of get us going here, get the conversation started. And so this question is for the interns, and maybe some of you, not all of you, need to respond. But what was one sort of big reveal, big takeaway for you all going through this internship? I know many of you are in data science field, some of you are in the social sciences field. We always feel like there's something new to learn whenever you do some type of social good project. So any of the interns want to kind of share something? Yeah.
Hello, my name's Rebecca. I am in health science, and one of the biggest things I learned from our project is that men are actually the most uninsured population in Florida as compared to women. In health science, a lot of the times we see women obviously have a high risk of breast cancer. Women are at high risk of this, maternal child health, all this stuff. We rarely see men being the subject. So having this revealed that men are actually more likely to be uninsured in Florida was insane to us.
Hello, everyone. So coming from a psychology major perspective, this internship was really difficult at first because I'm so used to a conceptual approach to data. Coming from a data-driven approach was something that I was totally unfamiliar with, and I had a lot of pushback towards that. But I think it's really interesting. I think that there are different situations where a data-driven approach and a conceptual-driven approach are appropriate, but especially when we're talking about a lot of these societal issues, a data-driven approach can really influence your end result a lot. Because as Rebecca just mentioned, conceptually she didn't know that result would happen, but the data told her that's the way. And so we can miss out a lot coming from purely a conceptual approach.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the JALA project is that it's not necessarily like confined to people who are low income. It's all across the income ladder. We had a lot of interesting results with the veterans status where even low income people, where they weren't necessarily low income and they weren't necessarily low educational attainment. I think, at least from my perspective, is that like housing is a right in my opinion. That's my perspective, not UNF's. But because I grew up with a single mother, we fortunately had a really good landlord who was very kind to us and very understanding of us. And without that consistent housing, I wouldn't be on the stage. I wouldn't be working in this field. I would be in a much worse situation. So it really highlights a lot of the great work that JALA is doing. And my hope is that you can help more people in Jacksonville be able to get to where I am with hopefully really good legal assistance. So thank you.
I actually want to speak to CAP if that's okay. As a former educator and a former student of the arts, I always really liked hearing project updates from you all. Firsthand being in the classroom, I saw that my students who were engaged in the arts really benefited from that. You know, they looked forward to their concerts, they looked forward to their presentations of their art projects. And seeing that come alive in the data and in the report cards that you're working on for your clients and our schools meant a lot to me as someone who had spent a lot of time with those students and in those programs. So I really like the work that you did and the work that you're doing as well. So thank you for that.
So I actually can speak to that in a sense that I was pretty scared about this before I got up here. But after I presented and the adrenaline wore off, no, I'm kidding, no. So after that, I was looking up at our visuals and it clicked that like, we made that. Like we did that. And for me, I'm a computer scientist. I've always I see the world as numbers. It's always been numbers to me. Everything is numbers. But also, I've always taken a creative approach to that, and I feel like this experience and as a whole, like as with CAP, as with arts in general, the value of it, if you don't include that, you're going to be missing out on a lot. And so being able to do that is really powerful. So yeah, I could keep talking, but I'm going to give the mic back.
Any questions from the audience that we wanted?
Anyone wants to ask a question? Oops.
Hi, great work for all of you, honestly. It's so cool to see so much great data and research put live in Jacksonville. Like, we are a great city that does so many cool things. I'm curious to know what drives each of you into social good specifically. With your skill sets and basis in math and computer science and data analysis, what made you guys choose to pursue nonprofit work? Thank you.
As I said, it was like my mother, right? So yeah, I'm always conscious of where I am, and I'm very grateful for where I am. But if a couple variables in my life, or sorry to use a data science term, a couple variables in my life went differently, I would not be able to do a lot of the great work that I do now. And that's incumbent on me to be able to not pull the ladder up behind me, but to kind of keep it down and lend a hand up. Yeah, I would say from my perspective, I don't really get to like opt out. I like to be able to help people, I suppose. So.
I would say I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with legal aid prior to this, and working firsthand with clients that are in dire need of help, it really adds value to the work that you're providing. And the work that I've done with legal aid, and it's actually coincidence that we had JALA as a project this year. It really helped me, but it was really great to kind of see the result. And I know that JALA, with how innovative that they are as a legal aid organization, they'll continue to grow and improve on their intake systems and really their business processes in general to make sure that they can reach as many clients as possible. And having that link and that connection to that work and the success that I know JALA will encompass just really adds value to my work, and it fills my heart with joy. Yeah.
Not money. But honestly, what got me into liking to work with nonprofits is there's so many people in the world who are sitting in their cubicles every day, typing in their numbers, doing data for their companies that are making impacts. You can make impacts on so many things, so many not so great things, depending on who you are, and so many really amazing things. But it's just being able to sit down at a computer and feeling the impact you're making, seeing Ronnie's face every single time I told him one data point. It was absolutely insane. He kept saying, I just want to dig my hands into this. Seeing that impact that it would make on people, and knowing that it's not just going to make impacts on that company, but then they're going to make impacts on hundreds of people, that's what really got me into it.
Yeah, I want to turn that question around to our community partners. So we have, data scientists that then kind of turn to the social good side. And so what makes someone who's involved in social good turn to the data science side? Any thoughts about that?
So part of it, and I'm sorry our City of Jacksonville folks left, but part of it is the communication and using the data to our elected officials. Okay, so when you, and that we have a person here in the front row who is personal experience with that as well, but when you have folks who come to that position, who are sitting on city council, for example, or in their mayor's office or serving in Tallahassee, they come to that position with an enormous amount of preconceptions. They think the world works like this, and in reality, the world works a different way. And one of the things that I talk about constantly is the fact that Florida is one of only 7 states without a state income tax, right? We share that, Texas, Tennessee, others. And those other states do different things with their low-income workers. Texas does different things with their low-income workers who work in their oil and energy industries than we do with our low-income workers who work in our tourism industry, which is a reason why I don't pay state income taxes. And so part of this is using the data to drive the message, to change the assumptions that many elected officials show up with because they haven't been challenged by the data in the past. I think that's a super helpful part of this project also for us. I don't know if you guys have any. No? Apparently I'm the only one.
Well, I would just like to speak on why I chose a nonprofit as a lawyer, as well as why data. Why did we decide to work with you all? Why did I choose a nonprofit as a lawyer? I originally came out targeting big law firms. Had the pleasure of working with some and getting interviewed by many. Recognized one face who is a great man who I think has been able to be in big law as well as be in the community better than anyone I've ever seen. For me, I'm from Lake City, Florida, Columbia County. Thank you for the team for showing that data. But I started representing mostly companies, and I used to tell my grandma, hey grandma, if you fail in Winn-Dixie and you wanted me to represent you, I'm sorry, I would probably be representing Winn-Dixie. And you know, I wanted an opportunity to do more of my legal work, and so I joined the Public Defender's Office, and now I'm with the Florida Health Justice Project. And every single thing that we do and every single day, we are actively helping individuals. The stories that were shared today are just some of the few. There are mothers who are calling us concerning their child who just lost Medicaid. So I just would like to encourage anyone and everyone, if you have the opportunity to do good, please do it. And there is money in the nonprofit space. It is growing. As far as why did we choose to to partner with UNF for the data, as the intern said, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of variables. We get data so much from the Florida Health Charts and from other sources, and quite honestly, we don't know what to do with it. So the opportunity to work with you all and to create the visualizations and the insight will be very helpful for us moving forward.
So I know Gina has to leave, so I will ask her to step out if she wants. But if anyone have one last question, we can do it. So this will be the last question from the audience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabe Hamda, so I wanted to be seen and heard. That's why I'm standing up. So I'm a social enterprise or a social entrepreneur, defined as doing good and doing well. I love making money, and I love to make a difference. So that's kind of a little bit about me. So I think I have an idea for maybe the next project. I'm really interested in creating bipartisan solutions in our community. You know, when I think earlier Ronnie may have spoken about data to prove a point, to make advocacy. You know, if I'm talking to people who sound like me, who support my position, you know, that's one success. But there are people who don't agree with me, and I'm really interested in to hear that solution, because in my view, the big data we're talking about is what gave us algorithms, so that feeds my views and feeds someone else's views, so that we are polarized as a society. So I want to hear how we can create a bipartisan solution so that the solutions we come up with are sustainable, you know, in a partisan society. When one group wins, one solution wins. And when the other group wins, the other solution wins. So we're always fighting one another. So I just want to hear any solutions, maybe potentially next project on this, and I'll be all over it. Thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
So what I'm hearing is just the power of data to make change and to inform, and so and to work, in across aisles and across organizations. And so I don't know, Lucy, you want to try to address, like, how do you make change with big data?
I think I get the wonderful question, don't I? I'm just actually thinking back when we first started on this project, perhaps 3 years ago. One of the answers, we surveyed principals to ask how much do you spend on the arts per student, or how much do you actually have after all of the needs at the schools. And it was between the range of a penny and $3.99. And that was about 52% of principals. That was a couple of years ago. And having that piece of data, we shared it. And in some ways, it helps support the passing of the millage referendum, and that is why it's so important, because 12.5% of the funds now is going towards the arts and also athletics. And schools are getting new band uniforms. There are new instruments. There are modernization of the theaters. So all of these things are so important. And how did it come from? It stemmed from one piece of data. So that is why this work is so important, and that is how we can drive change in our community.
I wanted to make one quick point in answer to your question, though, and I think these students and your corporate partners are a perfect example of this. The data has to be vetted, right? We live in a world now, very soon, or if it hasn't already happened, where AI can be used to transform a lot of our communication, and not necessarily in a positive way. But the folks who are the safeguard of making sure that our data is replicable, that it's understandable, that it's been reviewed for accuracy, are sitting up here on this stage and working in leadership at UNF. So I think they play a central role in getting to the society you envision, because part of what is so easy for folks to do is say, oh, I don't believe your data. It's up to folks like this, and especially the way they presented it today, going through very granularly and showing you how the human is represented by the data point that is going to be so critical going forward.
Great, excellent. Thank you all for our panelists. Appreciate you very much.